Hey you guys, welcome to my workspace. Now I know you're usually seeing me over at my sewing machine creating my handmade goods, but today I just wanted to share with you something that is critical to your online business success, which is to really take into account and give some thought to shipping. How you're going to ship, what you're going to ship, how you're going to pack it, what type of services, etc. So I've really thought about this, and over the years I think it's just something that's naturally evolved into a pretty efficient process for me, but I really can break it down into 6 main categories. And the 6 categories I would definitely consider as an online seller include the following. The first is to really identify and know your product or product mix. Once you determine what you're actually going to sell, you need to determine what are the best supplies used to transport those in the mail system. Once you select your supplies, you want to find the least expensive price to purchase those supplies, choose your shipping method, identify that there will be some shipping issues that do come up, and know that there is going to be a slight risk anytime you sell a product that you ship through the mail. The very first thing you want to think about when you're considering selling online and handmade goods is what are you actually creating and how well is that going to be able to be shipped in the mail. Since the frequency of actually in-person shows has decreased through the pandemic, it's become even more important for us to get our goods out into the community and into the world by actually using shipping services. A lot of online videos that I've watched about shipping is just to show people how many products someone's selling, but that actually isn't what the shipping process is about. That's about the success of their individual business. When it comes to your business, your shipping choices and your shipping process may be a lot different than someone that has, for example, a Shopify store. So if you're selling handmade goods, the very first thing I would recommend is to consider what it is that final product needs in order to get from your home to your customer's home in a safe manner. So the first thing I would do is really think about the weight of the item, as well as if it's fragile, does it need to be mailed in an envelope with some bubble wrap, or can it go in a box? Is it something that's in an irregular size, or is it something that's pretty standard? And after you determine that, you also want to think about the quantity of that individual item. So it's a lot easier when you're selling the same similar size item over and over and over, because you can kind of get into a rhythm. If you're an artist that creates unique pieces where one is small and another is a little bit larger, you're going to have to think of the shipping process through for those type of items as well. So my number one recommendation is know your product and know in advance what type of package would be most suitable for that. After you've determined what's going to be most successful as a packaging material for your actual art piece or your handmade good, you're going to actually want to consider where you're going to get those shipping supplies and what shipping supplies are going to be necessary. So in this video, I'm showing you my process, but my items are relatively easy and uniform to ship. So my one product is to sell doll clothes sewing patterns, so that has a certain process. I sell doll shoes, doll wigs, and some accessories and some outfits. So each type of product that I sell online, I actually have a different method for shipping. So my product list as far as supplies includes things like an envelope, a potted envelope, a box, tissue paper, some peanuts, those type of things, and then also my marketing materials. So you want to think in advance of what type of shipping supplies you're going to need, obviously scissors and tape, and then how you're going to label that package for delivery. So I'll show you quickly through my process what I do, and then you'll have to discover for yourself which works best for you. So my process for shipping my items is generally the same. Every day I wake up and I go to my computer and I identify which orders I've received since the day before. I look at the 4 platforms that I sell on, Amazon, Etsy, eBay, and my website, and I determine which things need to be mailed out and which type of packaging each item is going to need. Once I identify that, I get the items, whether it's printing the pattern or getting the product, and I put it in the appropriate packaging materials, and then I look at the address of the recipient. I copy that into my label program, I print the actual thermal label on my computer, and then from there I actually get the tracking number. I put the tracking number into the system for the different available platforms that I'm using. I attach the label to the actual package, and then when I have that, I determine if I need to go into the post office or if I can actually just put that package right into the mailbox for my USPS mailman to pick up. So I wanted to share with you guys how easy it is to ship your orders online if you're selling on Etsy, Amazon, eBay, or even your own website. So as you can see from here, I have my Etsy account called up and I have an order that's due to be shipped by tomorrow. So all I'm going to do in order to do this is I'm going to use the actual shipping program that Etsy actually has on board. Now I do have an additional program that I use called Indicia, and that's what I use primarily for my website, and it's not associated with any selling platform, so Indicia gives me the postage discount for actually paying a subscription price to that program every month. So I pay about 10 bucks and I think I save up to 30% off the USPS standard shipping rate. So if you need something like that for your own personal website, I encourage you to look into it. So back to our little Etsy example here, I'm just going to hit this get shipping label icon on the bus, and as you can see, the ship date is scheduled for today because that's what I'm doing, and all I have to do is put in the weight. So I've taken the product and I've weighed it on my postage scale, and it's 2 ounces, and then I'm going to put in the length of the actual envelope that I'm using. In this case, it's a 10 by 6 by 1. And I'm going to pick the service. Now, my standard flat rate shipping with Etsy is $4.10. They're actually charging me $3.79, and that difference is only about 30 cents, which actually pays for the shipping materials that I used, which in this case were a cellophane bag, my business card, and a padded envelope. So I'm going to select that. Now, I don't need any other additional shipping services, so I'm going to go ahead and print that to my laser printer. And all I have to do is check the total and purchase, print the shipping label, and select from the drop-down menu this actual printer, which is the Zebra printer. So once I have that done, all I have to do is switch here, and that's it. So I've concealed the name of the actual buyer for this product because I wanted to keep their name confidential, but as you can see, it just took me less than just a few minutes to process this entire order. So I would use that same process for all the orders that I do, and I highly recommend that label printer or something similar because it really cuts down on the amount of time it takes to actually post your products. Once you've determined all of the supplies that you need, I recommend that you spend some time sourcing. I see a lot of YouTubers just suggesting Amazon as the one and the only way that you're going to actually get your shipping supplies. But I would warn you that that's not necessarily going to be the cheapest way to go. So I want to show you on my computer how I source the different products that I use to mail my items. And I've consistently done this over time, and I think I probably spend 40 to 50% less on shipping supplies than some of the other YouTube videos that I've seen that are encouraging you on how to get your shipping and tracking supplies. So one thing I wanted to show you guys on my computer was how I source most of the shipping supplies that I actually use. So I sell a lot of the same thing, like I already noted earlier in the video, so I have to buy things in quantity. If you become someone that is selling in quantity, this is definitely the way that you can save some money, but I have some recommendations for starting out a little bit lighter if you're not quite at the quantity purchase level. So for example, I use 6.5 by 9.5 bubble envelopes for the majority of products that I sell, like zippers, doll shoes, doll wigs, and things like that. So I try to buy those in a quantity amount. And I just want to show you the variation if you do spend a little time to look around how much money you can actually save. So I usually start my shipping supply search on eBay. So you can see in the search bar that I wrote 6.5 by 9.5 padded envelopes and the quantity of 100. Now the listings are going to come up from, you know, a small quantity to a large quantity, which sometimes you have to look inside those listings to find the actual price. So right here is what I really pay attention to. As far as best match, I want to actually find the one that's the lowest price with shipping first, which will give you some of those smaller quantities to start with. So you want to look into those listings. So if you look at this second listing for that type of bubble envelope that I'm looking for, it's giving me a range of prices and I need to check out what that is. Now I'm going to choose my product size here and I'm going to select 100, and that's just so I can show you equally across several platforms. So this would be $61.99, which comes out to $61 per envelope. Some of the YouTube videos I've seen regarding shipping have people paying up to $1 for the padded envelope, which has nothing to do with what they have inside the envelope. So it's important to keep that in mind when you're choosing shipping supplies. So if we can get it for $61.99 on eBay, let's take that same search over to Office Depot, which is a pretty standard place to buy product. And you can notice right here that 25 of those mailing envelopes is going to be on sale. It's normally almost $16. But they have it on sale for $12, which 100 then would be $48. So we got $61.99, now we're down to $48. That's looking pretty good. So let's look over here on Amazon, and we're looking for the same quantity. So here we have 25 for $9.95. So now we're down to $40. Now you might think, well, that's probably the best, and that's what people have been saying, that Amazon is the best. But let's just go back over to eBay. And instead of looking at the one with the multiple different quantities available, let's actually look for one that's selling just 100. So this is 50 and 100 packs. That's looking like about $60. Keep going down the list. And what I actually ended up buying, I think, was something that was in the range. Let me check. Let's see. Let's go back to my buying history here, because I just purchased these and I want to show you what I actually got the price for. So my purchase history shows that I purchased 100 of the same size envelopes that we were just looking for, and I got the 100 envelopes for $24.01. So we saw this exact same product featured from this price, which is $24, all the way up to $68. So I took my envelope price down from 68 cents down to 24 cents, which is a savings of over 50%. So this is what I tend to do for all of the products, whether it's flat envelopes or padded envelopes, sometimes boxes, it just depends. But I encourage you to always search based on best price, lowest price with shipping. So that's just a little tip, and I hope that that helps you out. The actual label printer that I've ended up using over these years is actually a zebra printer. Now this is something that I bought used on eBay, and it has served me for at least 10 years. It uses the 4x6 thermal labels, and it is so easy to use, and I really think it was well worth it. I did a quick search this morning to see what type of products or what type of zebra printers were available right now, and they're around about $130 to $150. Now the advantage of using a 4x6 label when you're actually doing your packages is it saves you a lot of time, which is super good. It's really easy compared to printing the label on your actual printer and then cutting it out and then taping it to the product. The thermal label printer is also supported by many of the online selling platforms. When I first got started, I actually had to use the print and cut method for a couple of the platforms, and then others were supporting the 4x6. But now that you can print basically from eBay, from Etsy, from PayPal, all of those platforms, you can actually do that. And at the same time, it's going to upload your tracking information for that product that was purchased. Super helpful. Now, when you're considering the supplies that you're going to need to mail your actual handmade or hand good items, you want to think about actual quantity. So the smaller the quantity, the more expensive the price. This is generally 100% true across the board. So if you're not sure, then I recommend as you're getting started that you don't buy quantity, because you don't want to decide that you don't want to sell handmade and then you have 100 padded envelopes that you're not going to use. So initially, it might be okay to go ahead and purchase things that are in smaller quantities as you become comfortable with growing your business. Now, if you've already created a pretty sustainable business and you know what packaging you need, I recommend always buy bulk. You want to do this by following that process that I showed you, where you're actually sorting by best buy and shipping. So I think that's a great way to go about it. One thing I've noticed frequently is that people are using attractive packaging, which I think is important, and they're also using a lot of marketing materials in their actual shipments, which can also be useful. When you're selling products that exist and everyone has access to them, that's a little bit different when you're marketing your business. So if I'm selling lip gloss and someone else is also selling the same lip gloss, I can differentiate myself by the packaging that I choose to send that lip gloss in. For example, if it's a pink bubble mailer and it has a nice sticker on it and includes a thank you card, and it also includes my business card and it invites you back to my store, that can actually set you apart than if you're sending it in a very neutral or not very enticing enticing packaging. However, if you're sending something that's a one of a kind, or you just have a few of, where you're not really trying to create the brand based on that product, I think that spending all that extra money for the pink package and the pink sticker and the pink label can really add a lot of product cost and really cut into your profits. So you want to take into account what your actual end goal is. And one rule that I've always used with my business is things really need to be neutral or positive. So if I can send a package or an outfit in a package that is neutral or positive, then I think I've achieved my goal. I'm not looking for a repeat sell on that one individual item. I want to pack my items with care. I want it to arrive in good condition. I want it to include some marketing material, and it can also include a thank you. But if I take my time to buy all the matching accessories that you could use to mail your item, I could actually run up the cost of sending that item $4 or $5, not even including the shipping. So it's important to think about how much impact is the product that you're sending your product in actually adding value to your final customer. Okay, once we've determined what type of packaging we need to actually send our product, the thing you want to look at is how are you actually going to send it? So which shipping service are you going to use to actually deliver your product to your customers, and what variety are you going to be able to offer them? So for my products, I generally use first class package services. Now that's going to give you a delivery time of anywhere from 3 to 5 days. If the product is heavier or over a pound, I always use priority. Many of the selling platforms are now requiring that you use tracking information on your packages. Etsy recently included that for any value of a package over $10. So one thing you want to consider is if you've been using padded envelopes up to this point, the only way you can get a package with delivery confirmation or tracking information is to make sure that that package is 3/4 inches thick. So if you hadn't been doing that in the past, that's something to keep in mind. Now for me, when I send patterns, if it's not a lot of patterns, that's obviously not going to meet that dimensional requirement. So I include a styrofoam peanut in with my patterns. Now I'm sure my customers are wondering why there's a styrofoam peanut in there, but actually I can't track their package without that dimension being satisfied for the USPS requirements. The next thing you want to think about is, are you going to ship just domestically, or are you willing to ship internationally? Now your first indication may be that you think, okay, it's going to be a lot more of a hassle to ship internationally, but from my experience, it hasn't really been that. Now it does take a lot longer, and there's a lot of different requirements now that we've had this pandemic, so supply chains are taking a lot longer to deliver packages. So just keep that in mind. As long as your customers are comfortable with the wait time, then you should be comfortable with trying to ship internationally as well. Free shipping is often really encouraged for online platforms. It's good for them, and it can be really good for you. But I would recommend, if you're dealing with something that has a fixed price and you can't bump the price up in order to compensate for the shipping, I would really think about whether you want to do that. And I'll give you a quick example. Last year in my business for my website, I had offered free shipping, and it had been something that was available on my website since I purchased the Reflector pattern company in 2008. I really struggled with whether I wanted to actually add a flat rate shipping, but I was selling patterns, and the patterns in general are $12.95 per pattern. So every time someone would order from my website, it would cost me $4 in shipping. Now I also sell my patterns on Etsy and Amazon and eBay, and the customers that purchase there would, without fail, pay the shipping price. So I thought to myself, I'm not driving enough traffic to my website to compensate for that $4 loss, because if you look at how much it costs to sell on those selling platforms, it was actually making me more profit to sell with the shipping not included. So this year in 2021, I actually changed my website to have flat rate shipping, and I will run sales where the shipping will be free. But if you're looking at a $12.95 product cost and you're giving a free shipping quote for that, it's literally 1/4 of your actual profit. So keep in mind what your selling costs are per platform, as well as what your shipping price is per item. Now, if you're selling individual handmade items that you can actually increase or roll the price of the shipping into the product, then I think that in that case, it would be good to set yourself apart by doing some free shipping. But these are just some things to consider, and I want you to get the best profit from your product. So try to think about how that works with your individual product. One thing that I've really noticed when I'm watching videos regarding information about shipping is that it's very uncommon for people to talk about the mistakes or problems that can occur. And there's several, and I have a few things that happen to me quite frequently. So on my selling platforms, if someone purchases duplicate items of something that I'm pretty sure they just want one of, I have to make a decision. Do I contact the customer and hope that they get back to me in a timely manner that's still in line with my shipping delivery promise? Or do I automatically refund the purchase? Or, you're just going to have to need to know in advance what you're willing to do with that. Another thing is if a person purchases something from you and then in a short window before you've even shipped the first item, they purchase a second thing from you. Now they've been charged twice for shipping. You have a choice here. You can send 2 packages, you can contact the buyer, you can refund the second, and you can combine the shipping. But again, you need to know in advance if you're willing to do that, and your store policy or your website policy should clearly state what you're going to do with that. The other thing that often happens is that people are overcharged at checkout. So if you're using selling platforms that allow you to do combined shipping, but you find that the shipping has been overcharged in error of a couple of dollars or sometimes twice the shipping, you need to know in advance how you're going to handle that. Now, I've always found that the best thing to do is to get in front of it before the customer needs to ask you for a refund. So automatically, as part of my daily process, if I see that, I try to refund the buyer back through eBay. And now with eBay payments, it's a lot easier. They just deduct it from the amount of money that I receive for the products that I sold. So these are just some really important things to keep in mind when you're packaging your handmade goods. There are a few more issues that come up with shipping that are more important than actually just being charged a few extra dollars or duplicate purchases. There are instances where people want to tell you that they have not received the item, but the tracking indicates that it has been received. In this case, you really want to do it case-by-case basis and really determine what's the right course of action. So the first thing I try to do when a customer says they haven't received something that the tracking shows has been delivered is I ask them to look around their home, to check with their neighbors, to check with other people that they live with, to see if perhaps someone brought the package in and set it somewhere they weren't used to. Now this has worked and people have said, oh, thank you, yes, that's what happened. At other times it has not been delivered or they have not received it, meaning either someone took it or the delivery confirmation was incorrect. At that time, you're going to have to decide, do you want to believe the customer? Do you want to refund the purchase? Or do you want to stand by established shop policies or website policies that you have in place to say that you're sorry, but delivery confirmation in your mind is what the end of your responsibility. So keep that in mind. Now, with the COVID issues in the last, year to 2 years, there's been some other shipping supply issues where your package will go out, especially internationally, and then you'll just get notified that it's not being delivered and it's being returned to you. This is something that can be really challenging because the delivery back time is not necessarily indicated in those messages. So I'm going to show you quickly an example of this and how I chose to handle it. Okay, here's one of the examples where there's a pretty inherent risk to shipping that you can't anticipate. So this is one of those opportunities where you're going to have to just make a decision on a case-by-case basis. So you'll see here that I've sold an Integrity doll, and I sold that doll on November 9th. And if I click into the actual purchase, the buyer paid for this doll on November 8th. So it took a little bit of time, and I obviously put in the shipping details and everything, and we'll click on that to see. So I put the doll into transit, and it shows that it arrived at the shipping processing center on November 12th. But then on November 23rd, which is kind of a couple weeks after the person actually paid, and granted this is going internationally, I received a notification from eBay that my shipment was being returned because it encountered some problems. Now there weren't any other additional details to this, just that the shipment was being returned. So we're here recording this video on December 21st, and the doll has not actually arrived back to me. I have been in communication with the purchaser of the doll. They're very motivated to get the doll, and they were willing to wait, but now we're 6 weeks out. I don't have the doll back. I have their money, and they don't have the doll they purchased. So in this case, you have to decide what are you going to actually do? Whose fault is it? Well, it's certainly not my customer's fault that the post office, for whatever reason, was unable to deliver it, nor is it my customer's fault that they have not been able to receive the item. So what I think I need to do in this case is I actually need to refund their money for two reasons. One, I'm not sure that I'm ever going to get that doll actually back. Therefore, someone shouldn't need to pay for something they never got. It's not their responsibility. It is mine, and it is an inherent risk to actually selling. So I just want to show you this as an example. It's not a common problem, but it is a problem that can happen. So you want to be aware that that is something that may not have a monetary recourse for you, and you have to be willing to assume that risk when you're selling online. All right, well, that basically sums it up. I think there's really 6 things you need to consider as stated in this video. I hope this information was really helpful to you guys. Again, every shipping issue for someone that's doing crafts or handmade items is going to be specific to their product, to the selling platform that they choose, and to really what their end goal shop policies are going to be. So I encourage you to give some thought to that before you get too far ahead of the game in getting your businesses established and set up, and just make some really good decisions that you can live with. There is always going to be a percentage where things don't work out with the shipping situation, and you just kind of have to know that that's part of doing business online, but it can still be super successful and can be very beneficial to get your products in front of the eyes of the whole world using the internet. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you like this video content, please give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. And as always, I encourage you to leave any questions you have in the comment section below. I mean, this video channel, this YouTube channel is really just to reach out to the community of people that are doing similar things to what I'm doing, and to help if I can, and to hear from your experience too, so that we can all learn and grow our businesses together going forward. So I hope you guys have a great holiday season, and I'll see you in the next video.